What's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast. Wanted to drop in real quick and just give my quick thoughts on the Celtics Nets playoff series. That's the one I'm most interested in. And full disclosure, there's a reason for that. If you know me, you know that I've been a Boston Celtics fan since 1986, watching Larry Bird swing that towel in the old Boston Garden. So this is definitely the one I've been watching. But I can be objective about it. Obviously, I want the Celtics to win as a fan, but I can still talk the series without, letting that, creep in too much. Quick notes, next week, hopefully I get some good football talk in. Next weekend is the draft, so I'm not going to do any pre-draft stuff. I'll just come on and give my thoughts on, what I saw in the first few days and what I think about it, how I think those picks might affect the teams that they went to, etc. So going to give some talk about that. And as well, hopefully get some college football talk in. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get to the topic of today's show, the Nets and Celtics, which realistically, even though the Celtics are up 2-0 in the series, and I'll get to that a little later, is actually one of the most intriguing from a basketball standpoint, just watching how the games are playing out, right? So the first topic in that series, I think, which is one of the biggest, is, of course, Kyrie Irving, right? And we saw how he just went off in game one. I think he went off for 39 with like 18 in the fourth quarter, doing the things that Kyrie can do. An elite three-level scorer. The guy's great, no question about it. With that said, one of the biggest stories was him getting into verbal altercations and then using some obscene gestures, basically flipping off the Celtics crowd. We know that the Celtics have that Boston crowd has a history of being raucous, has a history of being obnoxious, has a history, unfortunately, of being racist, not only in their athletic crowds, but also as a city. With that said, let's hear a little bit from Kyrie Irving post game one.
I mean, I'm just where I'm from. I'm used to all these antics and people being close nearby. It's nothing new when I come into this building, what it's going to be like, but it's the same energy they have for me, and I'm going to have the same energy for them. And it's not every fan. I don't want to attack every fan, every Boston fan, but, when people start yelling pussy and bitch and fuck you and all this stuff, it's but so much you can take as a competitor. And, we're the ones expected to be docile and be humble and take a humble approach. Nah, fuck that. It's the playoffs. This is what it is. I know what to expect in here, and it's the same energy I'm giving back to them.
Okay, so what stood out to me the most with this Kyrie Irving commentary is that obviously I get it. You're a player, and fans think that because they buy a ticket, they can say whatever to you and do whatever to you, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I've always been a proponent. I told my own kids this, and I believe in myself. People can say whatever they want to you. Now, if they physically accost you, okay, now we got a different story, and you always have a right to defend yourself if they physically accost you, not if you initiate the contact, right? But with that said, I'm just kind of I'm confused as to where Kyrie is coming from. Number one, and this doesn't make everything that the fans do or say right, but you're a pro athlete, Kyrie, and you are getting compensated extremely, extremely handsomely to go out there and play a game. No one said you didn't work extremely hard to get to and maintain your position where you are, but at the same time, you're being compensated extremely handsomely. Well, how and why is that happening? Because fans show up to watch you play, because fans turn in on the television to watch you play, because those fans, that's why you have the because of those fans, that is why you end up having the huge TV contracts, which allow you to get paid the way you do, right? You are getting a tremendous amount of money, as I've said. And so that should allow you just a little bit of grace, or more technically, it should allow you to have a little bit more grace with them in terms of understanding that this is how you're able to do what you love, which most people aren't, for a living, and again, get paid extremely handsomely. And so the word that stuck out to me the most when he was speaking was humble. Why did that stick out to me the most? Because Kyrie Irving is a practicing Muslim, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? This country, of course, was founded on the principles of religious freedom. Now, with that said, Kyrie Irving is a practicing Muslim. And if you know anything about Islam, right now is the Islamic holy month of Ramadan, which is a month of fasting and abstaining as best one can from sin, from uh, unclean thoughts, unclean behaviors during the holy month, but abstaining from food and drink, especially during the daylight hours during this month. Now, Muslims basically take this as a period of reflection, as a period of prayer, as a period of hope to clean themselves up, clean their lives up, become better as people and as Muslims, right? Why do I bring that up? Because you mentioned humble. And humility is one of the biggest things that we're supposed to be exercising during this time. Now, one would say that it's probably not the most humble thing to be cursing back and giving obscene gestures to the very fans who make it so that you can get the money that you're getting, with which, don't get me wrong, he does great things in the community and throughout the world. He's very charitable with his time and his money. So respect due there. But the point I'm trying to make is, what you were doing and what you were saying does not match up with humility. Now, I'm the last person to judge anyone. I'm not trying to do that, but this is something he probably should have been more aware of. And if you point to it, you've had other really well-established Muslim players in the league who've never reacted this way despite what they faced. Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, who was not willing to stand for the national anthem based on the history of the United States of America and its treatment of many of its minority citizens. You have Hakeem Olajuwon, who is a Nigerian immigrant and a devout Muslim, who was probably the epitome of grace, class, and humility during his time in the NBA, right? These are guys, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, all-time leading scorer, at least for a little while longer, who also faced all of this, right? So these are guys who faced probably a lot worse, without doubt, in terms of the racism, in terms of the taunting, in terms of the negativity, the profanity, et cetera, right? These guys all faced a lot worse than that, but you didn't see them reacting in the same fashion that Kyrie Irving is reacting. Now, everyone is their own person, and I'm not saying he has to behave the same way everyone else does, but maybe he should take a page from them and learn from it. Even beyond that, you got guys who aren't Muslim, like Patrick Ewing. He's an immigrant from Jamaica, one of the greatest big men of all time, probably a top 10 center ever. That's a discussion for a different day. But the point is, when he was in college at Georgetown and he'd go play, racist fans were literally throwing bananas at him. They were holding up signs saying Patrick Ewing can't read this. They were yelling tremendous obscenities, and he took it all. And then he went out there and dominated. The point I'm trying to make is, Kyrie Irving, we expect better of this from you. Bill Russell, the greatest winner in the history of the NBA, 11 championships. And while he was winning championship after championship for the Boston Celtics, Celtics fans and racist white people in the city of Boston were breaking into his home, vandalizing it, and literally crapping in his bed. But did he respond that way? No. He just went out. He showed the grace. He continued. He showed true humility and grace, continued to dominate on the court. Again, no one is saying that Kyrie Irving, you have to be all these guys. I'm not expecting to. You're your own man. But at the same time, if you're going to use the word humble, then show the humility, because a lot of people went through a lot worse than you did. Okay, let me get off the soapbox on that. Now, we're looking at this and we're seeing the Celtics are up 2-0 in the series. And this brings me to another point. I've been told many times by a lot of younger NBA fans that the players now and the league now is better than it's ever been before. And I'm not so sure. Now, I could do a whole show on this, but where I'm really going is, look at Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant especially, one of the elite scorers of all time. Or is he? The numbers say he is. What we've seen from him throughout his career say he is, and I'm not saying he's not. But now let's look at it. This is why I bring up the argument of when people tell me that players in the league now is better than it was ever before. The Boston Celtics are not even playing the way you were allowed to play in the 80s and 90s, right? Of course, you wouldn't be allowed to play that way today. But they're getting just a little bit physical with Kevin Durant. And so far in this series, he's been locked up. We're looking at a guy who's a career, and I say career, 29 point per game scorer in the playoffs, a guy who shoots 48% from the field and 36% from three from the playoffs, 87% from the line. Guy is one of the most deadliest scorers in history. And again, elite at all three levels, down low, mid-range, all the way out to three, and at the free throw line. But what are the Boston Celtics doing? They're getting a little bit physical with him. Everywhere he turns, there's a body in front of him, right? They're making him turn into help. He's turning the ball over 6 times a game so far in this series. Now, it's only been 2 games, but this is not at all what we expect from Kevin Durant. They're making him play in a crowd. They are making it extremely difficult on him, and he's having a tremendous time dealing with it. So this is where I say, when people argue with me and say today's players are better than ever, well, I don't know. If they had to go through the same things that the players from the past had to go through and still produce, would they produce at the same level? It's a great question. I like to give the marathon example, right? Let's say I ran a marathon and I ran it in 5 hours flat. Okay. But when I was running the marathon, I had on a 20-pound weight vest. Now you come out and you run the marathon in 4 hours flat. You cut a whole hour off my time, but you're not wearing the weight vest. You're running free. Are you really that much faster than me? Or are you running the marathon with less impediments, right? That's what we have to think about when we compare modern NBA basketball to the basketball of the past. We look at all these gaudy numbers. We look at all of this, right? And we see a league that's made, the rules have literally been changed. Adam Silver said this. The rules have literally been changed and are having the desired effect. They are boosting scoring, right? The game is much less physical. Defense, for the most part, has been legislated out. Teams are shooting way more three-pointers than they've ever shot before. So everything is in place for the numbers to be better. And when the numbers are better in the current era, we take that and we think, well, everyone's better. The players are better and the game is better, et cetera, et cetera. Not necessarily. I'm not saying it's not, but what I'm saying is it's not definitively better, because when all these players today are playing with these advantages that put them in position to put up these numbers and score the way they are, we can't really tell. All right. So Kevin Durant is having a really tough time, but the series is not over yet, even though Boston's up 2-0 heading to Brooklyn. Now, here's the thing we got to take into account. Some people don't think this matters. I personally think it matters because of human psychology. The Boston Celtics are 40-1 all time in best of 7 series when they're up 2-0. That doesn't mean they can't lose. Clearly, they're 40-1. Somebody came back and beat them. Actually, it was the 2008-2009 Orlando Magic. I remember that series, and with a lot of pain. But it can be done, right? Somebody can come back and win a series when they're down 0-2 to the Celtics, but it almost never happens, right? But even with that said, the Nets are not going to roll over. I truly don't believe that, right? So let's look at this 2 ways. KD is going to break out. It doesn't matter how great the Celtics defense is. You cannot keep an elite offensive player down for that long. It's just not going to happen. I think it was back in the 92-93 playoffs. Michael Jordan was playing against the Knicks. The Knicks were rough, rugged, physical, one of the best teams in the league, best defensive team in the league. And they held him to, I want to say 22 points in like game 4. And the game after that, you can fact check me on this, but the point I'm trying to make is the game after that, he busted out for 54. Now, I'm not saying Kevin Durant is Michael Jordan. No one is Michael Jordan, right? But the point is, elite offensive players cannot be held in check that long. So you look at a guy like Kevin Durant, he is going to break out. Also, the modern NBA does not want defenders having that much of a role in the game. Why? Because offense is much sexier, right? Defense wins games, offense sells tickets. People are not going to want to tune in for 88, 84 games or 90 to 86 games. We've seen that, and that is why the rules got changed. You want a more free-flowing game. You want a faster game. You want a game where more points are put up, because most people think that's more exciting. Personally, I don't mind defense because I know that if a guy gets 30, he earned that 30, right? But different story again. Anyway, I definitely think KD is going to break out. It's likely going to happen in game 3. Also, now that the Nets are at home, the Celtics are probably not going to get away with doing as much physical play against Kevin Durant as they were in Boston. Now, the other thing I want to look at is I'm not sure I believe in Kyrie Irving, okay? He is supremely skilled. There's no question about it. Another one, elite 3-level scorer, can shoot the free throw, can shoot the three, can shoot the mid-range, can get to the rim with the best of them. Cool. But you got to look at this and you got to wonder, what did he do in his career before LeBron James? Now, I totally get the fact that that was a terrible team, those Cleveland Cavs, which is why they picked him number 1 overall, right? You're not going to be good and have the number 1 overall pick. So those were horrible rosters. So I get that. So let's even give him a pass and say, okay, he didn't do anything before LeBron. But since leaving LeBron, what has he done? He went to Boston, and the Celtics got within 7 minutes of the NBA Finals without him in the playoffs, right? The Celtics got better when he left. He's with Brooklyn. What has he done? You got to wonder about this guy. Either he's going to get injured or there's going to be something else going on. There's always something with Kyrie. Now, again, supremely skilled player. I got no problem admitting that, but I just don't trust him because we haven't seen him do much of anything before or after LeBron James. And that's just the truth of the matter. So definitely want to see, looking forward to seeing what plays out with this Nets Celtics series. But also, here's an interesting note. Ben Simmons is supposedly going to be coming back for Game 4. I don't know what that means because there's no chemistry in terms of in-game between he and his teammates. He hasn't played in about a year, so not sure what he's going to look like game shape-wise. There's only one thing that can get you right in terms of game shape, and that's playing games. Really not sure what it's going to be, but I will say that could be interesting because if he can give you 15, 20 minutes, solid defense, distributing the basketball and a few rebounds, that could be very dangerous and get this team, the Brooklyn Nets, right back into the series because you know he's not going to take shots from Kyrie and KD. That's going to be a non-issue, but he's going to be able to get those guys in position and distribute the basketball because he's really good at that. But again, we got to wait and see. And yeah, that's just about all I got on my Nets Celtics thoughts. This one actually ran a little longer than I expected, but I definitely think it's an interesting series. There's interesting subplots. Hey, reach out in the comments section. Tell me what you think. All right. Real quick, if you haven't already, go ahead and click that subscribe button, lower right corner of your screen. Really appreciate it. Go ahead and click the notification bell so you'll be notified when new podcasts drop. Definitely want to have you in for that. If you don't know where to find us on YouTube, go ahead and type in the Format Podcast on YouTube. We should come right up. Definitely there. If you want the audio only version, look right here on the screen. You can see all the places you can find us, but we're also pretty much available wherever you get audio podcasts. Also, if you are able to, if your audio podcast platform allows you to, please give us that 5-star review. Definitely helps us out in the algorithm in terms of coming up more quickly in the search. And you can reach out to me via social media. You see it right there at the bottom of the screen. All right. Yeah, that's about it. And finally, if you enjoyed the pod and you know other sports fans who might, don't keep it to yourself. Go ahead and share. Anyway, I'm out. Peace.